Okay, and I think we're live. Yep. Hey, Sonia. Hi. Good morning. Good afternoon. What time is it for you now?
Good afternoon. Yes, it's 1 o'clock here in Hong Kong.
Oh, we've taken away your lunchtime?
No, this is great. My lunchtime anyway is in between clients and sessions, so it's perfect.
Good. So, hi. Good morning. Good to see you. And we're here talking to you via Facebook. And we have started seeing people join us. Yes, fantastic. Okay. So, good morning. And yes, let me begin by say hi, everyone. Welcome to Joining Hands. We did a talk with Sonia last week. Yes. Sonia did a beautiful talk on Joining Hands 2 weeks back on the yin and yang. And everyone really loved the energy flow and the way you spoke about the whole topic. It was beautiful. It was so beautiful.
Thank you so much.
So Sonia is from Hong Kong, which is interesting, to see Indians travel overseas and do such amazing work. And we spread our wings and we talk about things that we do. I really love the sign and the Buddha behind you. And it also talks about what all Sonia does. So Sonia, I'm going to cut right to the chase. Let me, and I'm just going to take it with the flow. For those in Joining Hands, know me that I hate sticking to patterns. So I don't have a set pattern that I follow. So I'm not going to go with the classic introduction of Sonia, and then I'm just going to go with the flow. So we're talking about your book, 52 Thoughts for Conscious Living. It's very inspirational. Conscious living is very interesting in today's times, specifically post-COVID. And we're all trying to get more conscious. The lockdown has brought about this level of consciousness that we need to have. So let's talk about your inspiration. What really inspired you to write this book, Sonia?
Sure. This is my book, and thank you for that introduction. 52 Thoughts for Conscious Living. 52 because there are 52 weeks in the year. Right. And the one thing that is necessary for us to actually live consciously is not the knowledge, but it's the application of the knowledge. So my inspiration was to give something in bite-sized pieces so people can apply the knowledge to be able to live with more awareness and consciousness. So I'm not giving big sermons. I'm giving short chapters. Each chapter is 2 pages. And in those 2 pages, there's an activity. So there's an invitation of what to think about in the week, what to do in that week. And it's to imbibe simple principles. So a principle could be about becoming aware of your thoughts and your emotions. Are you shooting yourself? Are you imbibing somebody else's rule book and value system or your own? Are you living with authenticity or are you putting on a mask? And these small things help us to live with that much more awareness.
Very interesting. So it's basically, if you talk about the book, it's broken up into weeks.
Yes.
Wow. So if I really had to look at working on myself, and it's beautiful. I think, was it timed like that to come out at the start of the year?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was just beautifully synchronized. I had been thinking about this book for 3 years, but it actually took me a few weeks to write. By the time you think about it and the idea is there to actually getting it to fruition. And then finally, I wanted a time to launch this in Christmas. So it can be a beautiful Christmas gift. And then you start it in the new year because it's the beginning of the 52 weeks.
So Sonia, we know that you've been a therapist for over a decade and a half right now.
Yes.
And you've practiced, but tell us about yourself. Tell us about what you do and, how all that you've learned over the last 15 years has culminated into this book.
So the big thing that I like to say is my message through whether I do hypnotherapy, regression therapy, inner child healing, past life healing, coaching, it's basically moving from judgment to acceptance. And judgment has been what has created issues when we are, zoned into that duality and we start judging it by this is wrong, it shouldn't be, I get attached to the way I think it should be. So all of those judgments take away peace and they create issues. And everything that we are doing is allowing us to look at the same thing through the lens of acceptance, which means it's not good, it's not bad, it just is. So cultivate a more mindful way of living, reinterpret our situation so that we can live with more peace and awareness. So that is how I would say what I do in a nutshell. like almost like an acceptance advocate. And I have to say that I am my biggest client. I am not an acceptance guru at all. I am definitely learning the subject of acceptance every day. I am definitely not an expert yet, but I am on the journey. I am a big student of it.
Fantastic. And you're just being humble, because I know for a fact of having interacted with you, the qualifications, you are an ECA teacher, you teach hypnotherapy, you teach TASO, you've spoken at multiple TEDx platforms.
Yes.
So and it's really nice for us to hear from people when you've achieved so much and to say that you are your biggest student and you are your biggest client. It's so interesting to have that perspective that you are always learning.
Yeah, I mean, it is about lifelong learning, which is actually the topic of my second TED Talk. It's lifelong learning on the School of Earth. And I spoke about acceptance there too, because we are here to learn that. And as a fellow therapist as well, that, we constantly get triggered, we constantly get hijacked. And there is no like switch on or off of a light or, oh, I'm healed or I'm resolved. It is constant. It is continuous. It needs reminders. And that was also part of the basis of this book, to give people those reminders, because we know a lot of the knowledge. Maybe for some people, there will be lots of things that they didn't know. For others, it might be just deepening a little bit. And for a lot of people, it would be reminders. You know the knowledge. Maybe I packaged it slightly differently because it's my words and not your words. So you know the concepts of it, but how much are you applying it in this moment? In the moment where you're triggered, in the moment where you're upset that your wife or your husband or your father or mother are not doing things the way you want them to do it, we still do get triggered. And in those moments, that's when we need those reminders. This is what the book is really here to do.
It's interesting. You use one of my favorite words. You said the word healed. And I keep telling people there is no word as healed. I mean, it's just it's like an oxymoron. You can never be totally healed. Because I think healing is a journey, and once you start it, when you live through life, you're going to get more and more layers. So So how does people who are hearing us today, how do they go about using the book? Do they just open the book and read? And are there processes? How do they go about doing all of that?
So I'll tell you a little bit about how I've structured it. So I have structured the book into seasons. There is spring, summer, autumn, and winter, and it talks about a cycle. So the cycle starts with a beginning, that's spring. So it's new beginnings, it's setting intentions, it's allowing yourself to flow. Then it's the summer where you're strengthening, you're growing, you're fortifying the knowledge. Then it's autumn where things are slowing down a little bit. You are reaping the rewards and learning the lessons. So reaping the rewards of things that happened in flow, learning the lessons of areas maybe when you were not in flow. And winter is the end of the cycle. It is about being not attached, allowing things to end, allowing things to close, and a lot of reflection. So you have a choice. You can read it the way that it was written, season by season, chapter by chapter, or you can think, okay, I'm just going to open up a page and see which message do I have for myself. And I say this in the beginning of the book. You can choose to just open up a page, or you can read it from cover to cover.
So when you read the book, literally speaking, it's the only book I really need to buy? Because if I buy the book once and then whenever I feel that there's an issue that I need to look at in my life, I just open the book and I go about doing the process.
Yeah, you'll get a message, you'll get an invitation for an exercise, and it will further you in some way. As you just said, that there's no such thing as fully healed. So it'll move you, it'll shift your perspective. It'll allow you to have a little bit more awareness and acceptance than you did before reading it.
So, fantastic. When you thought about the book, you said you've been thinking about it for 3 years. Did you do any process to say, okay, now is the time? Because, it's interesting. We had a process today morning on procrastination. So we have these great ideas, but we hold on to them. And then, there was a thought that, is it procrastination, or do we rightly say maybe when the time is right, we will do what we need to do?
Yeah, if that is true, as long as it's not an excuse. Because part of our own rationalization is like, oh, the timing was not right. It's such a great way to give ourselves an excuse. So part of it is, of course, there is divine timing to everything. I'm a big believer in that. Right. But for me, what made the biggest difference, and I share that in my manifestation process, is the simplest thing: scheduling. So it was an idea, and it was an idea that was in my mental world, and I hadn't applied it to my physical world yet. And of course, life happens, and I've got this appointment and that workshop, this more thing to do. And so it ended up just remaining as an idea until last year. I said to myself, I am going to schedule just time for this. So before this COVID became manic, I checked myself into a hotel by myself where there is no distractions from home, no distractions from work. And then all I needed to do was focus on the content of the book. And that took 3 days. Then It took another 3 days to edit it. And then it was back and forth with my editor and publisher, who's amazing. And he's my partner in this. And that's where it came into light.
Very interesting. So yeah, I think we all need to do that. I think one of the key things, like you rightly said, is I don't think people prioritize themselves.
Yes.
And when you schedule it, you put yourself and what you want on priority.
Yes, I needed to do that. And I think that, whenever I do anything and it is not becoming into physical reality, one of the biggest reasons is there is no space in my diary for it. I haven't created the time in my diary. And I live pretty much by my diary. I look at what is there to do each day. Like today, I knew that at 1 o'clock Hong Kong time, I'm speaking to you. It's in the diary. It's going to happen.
Right.
So for me to write a book, if it's in the diary, it's going to happen.
Yeah. So for those of you who use the calendar to schedule, maybe you put an hour over there saying me time. Maybe once a day, once a week. And I think clearly put an appointment or a reminder that once a week, 52 thoughts of conscious living time. So that you can go about and do that every week for yourself.
And reading one of this per week, that actually will probably take you about 10 minutes. And I'm being very generous because it's only 2 pages, but it's not a book there like a novel. It makes you think, which is why 10 minutes. So you think, you apply it. You think, you apply it. And then you look at what is there to do, the activity. It's going to be 10 minutes of your time, 1 day a week. It will not happen if you say, yes, I'll do it once a week. But if you say something like on Sunday night at 7 to 7:10 p.m., or just before I go to sleep every Wednesday night, I'll be in bed and I'll do this. Much more likely to happen because now you're painting a picture in your subconscious mind, as you know that.
Yes. And I think we all have these beautiful phones that we call smartphones, and let's make them smart and put an appointment in the calendar.
Yes.
And so that the next time someone invites you for dinner, you can tell them, I'm sorry, but Wednesday doesn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Sonia, what is your favorite chapter from the book? I'm sure you've been asked this in all other interviews.
Ooh, actually, no, I'm not being asked to pick one.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Okay. So 52 processes, which is your favorite?
Probably, I would say around the first one, which is allow the dark to experience the light.
Oh,
and
wow.
This is similar to what I talk about when we did the yin and yang. Yes. And it's honoring and acknowledging the place for the darkness and the lightness. And the only way you can experience the light is to honor the darkness because it gives space for the light to exist. So I start my book with that thought.
So how do you really do that? And I'm not taking away from the book, but how does I'm sure the process is there in the book, but how does one really honor the darkness?
It's basically as simple as understanding and making a decision. Because if we're judging the darkness as wrong, bad, and darkness means judgment, and darkness means sad emotions, angry emotions, we're not understanding the purpose of it. So if we understand the deeper purpose of darkness, and in the space of the universe, if you go out of the planet Earth, there's darkness all around. We exist in that space. It gives us space to exist. We don't even know that there is light unless there's darkness and then the light shines in. So if we understand that the purpose of the darkness is to allow the lightness to shine, it's to give space, it's to allow ourselves to go inwards, then that is honoring it in itself. It's basically through understanding its purpose, accepting it, that itself is honoring.
Oh, interesting. And that's how the book is broken down into processes that people need to do to basically go, oh, fantastic. So it's very practical for people to use as a guide for their day-to-day issues that they face.
Yes, absolutely. So it's broken down into giving you awareness. So it gives you a lot of knowledge, and then it gives you an exercise to apply the knowledge. because we know knowing and not doing is yet not knowing. And if we're looking at this in the way of the mind, we have a conscious and the subconscious mind. And our conscious mind can know the concepts. Of course, that's a 10% of the mind. Your rational mind knows it. But unless you apply it in your body, in your life, then the subconscious mind and our default mechanisms are not in alignment with that knowledge. And our life is not going to work in alignment to that.
Fantastic. When you were writing the book, Sonia, what were your thoughts? The 3 days and the weeks that you spent locking yourself in the hotel room. What were you thinking? I mean, what were the thoughts? I'm sure we'd love to know what was going on in that beautiful mind of yours to come up with something like this.
Well, actually, I was so lost in the subjects. So I knew that I wanted to share my thoughts. Mm-hmm. I didn't know at that time that I was going to structure it into the summer, autumn seasons. So I went with topics that would be very dear to me. Like, what is important for me to learn? It's important for me to learn how to honor darkness. It's important for me to learn how to master emotions, what emotions are, to be at peace with the lightness, the darkness, and everything else in between, to understand the parent-child dynamics within me. So I used myself as the prototype for this, because I am a seeker of wisdom. I am my own target market. And what has made that difference? And then I got lost in the subjects of writing it. And I went and I wrote at least, 3 to 4 paragraphs on each thing that's made a difference to me. I wrote an activity, and then I reflected on it later. And then I looked at how to structure it. And when I was first writing it, it was not even my idea to make it 52 thoughts. It was just thoughts for awareness, like useful tips and tools that people can get to live with more awareness and consciousness. And I just want to take a moment to say what I mean by that, because it's such a cliche term, right? Aware living, conscious living. So that, for me, what that means is to be free from programming. Because if we're living unaware, then we are getting hijacked by the programming of our subconscious mind, and we're not always aware of what that is. So let's say in my subconscious mind, I have a programming of, I need to be a good girl. And that's basically how I'm living. But it's in my blind spot. I don't even know that I'm living that way. Mm-hmm. So being aware is knowing what's in your blind spots, understanding your programming, and giving yourself the choice, whether you'd like to go with it or you'd like to tweak something about it. And that's the choice that I wanted to bring to people.
Oh, very interesting. Can I throw in a googly? Which is the toughest one to write? The toughest chapter or the toughest thought to work with?
Again, that is a googly, because I haven't thought about the answer to it.
Well, I did promise a candid conversation.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not sure whether I can say tough, but maybe there are some where I was working through it in my own life as I was writing it, like around relationships, how to accept what a person is saying and understand what their intentions are. And on being an adult, are we hijacked by our own child? Are we being the parent to ourselves, or are we being the child? Like sometimes if I make a goal, I will say, you better do this. So I'm becoming my parent, or I'm like, forget it, I'm not going to do it. And I'm becoming my own child. So how to get from either or to being the adult and operating from the adult space. So these were things that I was going through myself as I was writing it.
Very, very interesting, Sonia. Would you want to read us something from the book?
Yeah, there's one. Well, I just literally opened it. So this is the message. Yeah, it's called A Different Type of Prayer. And it's about understanding why people pray. So many people use prayer as a means to ask for something. And thus many prayers consist of sitting in an altar and requesting God or the universe to make your life better by giving you more money, better health, more opportunities, or a higher status in society. One way or another, we've likened prayer to a genie in the bottle, hoping that if we rub it hard enough, our will come true. And what we don't realize is the more we desire, the more we are reinforcing lack, because desire itself comes from a feeling of not having something. So that's the beginning. And then I move on to prayer is literally being in alignment with the vibration of what you're praying to, instead of asking for something.
Very beautiful. I think every desire is born from a lack consciousness.
Yes. Because it's want, right?
Yes, true. Fantastic, Sonia. So the book is available on Amazon right now?
The book is available on Amazon. We've got the Kindle version available. We have the hard copy available. And I am toying with the idea of doing an audiobook. So that may be available too. Fantastic. Which will then be in my own voice. So that is something that I will have to schedule in this year, as we said earlier.
That'll be nice. And people can just go and order it through Amazon. I'm just going to do a quick screen share for people to look at and order this. This is here, 52 Thoughts for Conscious Living. It's available on Amazon. And you can go and grab your copy through that.
And also, I would love to hear feedback. Like, people have said to me a few things where they've been applying concepts in their lives, how it's working for them. I have gotten even some tips. Like, somebody said to me, I would love to have some blank pages to write notes. I'm like, that's great. So I love feedback. If you want to read it, give me feedback on how it was for you, how it landed for you, or give me a review. I would really appreciate that too.
And can they do that via, what would you like to do? Via Amazon or via soniasamtani.com?
Either one. So via Amazon, it would be a review, or you can go to soniasamtani.com, contact me directly, go to my Facebook, Sonia Samtani, message me directly.
And here she is on soniasamtani.com.
Thank you. Yes. So here you can easily contact me.
Contact Sonia here. And those of you who are in Hong Kong can actually get in touch with Sonia for a signed copy of the book. Is that asking for too much?
Not at all. I've been loving signing these copies and then writing a personal message to people. And I was very happy to see that it's been such a popular Christmas gift, because I have so many friends in the wellness industry. So they have their teams and they bought like 20, 30 copies to give out to their team members.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, from what I've read and what I've understood, it's a very beautiful book to look at working with yourself.
Yes. And the main thing I wanted to also do is to make it easy. Like, I want to make it easy to read, very accessible, not like it looks like a Mount Everest that I have to keep climbing. I can read 2 pages and that would be fine. I can flip to anything, that's fine. I can do it the way that it's structured, and anything is fine. Whatever works with your flow.
So I have a couple of questions that have already come on the chat and few have come to me directly. Would you repeat the name of the book? Sure. Would you want to do it, Sonia? I mean, I'm sure you would love to show it. I'm just going to put you on the spotlight.
52 Thoughts for Conscious Living. That's the title of the book. Thank you so much for asking.
Another one that's come up is, can someone repeat the process?
Yes, absolutely you can. And in fact, if you feel like you want to read the same page for 3 or 4 weeks and keep repeating it, you can do that too. You don't have to move through it week by week. It's about how you feel. And if you feel as if, oh, I've been resisting it. I have been reading something on happiness and I wanted to have more of this happiness hormone in my life, but I've been resisting or I've been judging. Let me read it again. Let me do the process again. You can do it for as long as you need to. There is no rule. Yeah, no particular way in which it's meant to be.
We've got some interesting feedback. People have loved the scheduling bits.
More of this happiness hormone in my life.
People have loved the scheduling part that they can schedule time for themselves. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be checking into the hotels next weekend to start giving themselves me time.
It's time for staycation, right? COVID has said to us, we're not going to go across, but we can do staycations. And a self-staycation was actually excellent. I really thoroughly enjoyed that time of being an author, being in a room where I was overlooking the sea and writing.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sonia, for talking about the book today. It's been an interesting conversation to learn about the book. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who are waiting to get their hands on the book and start, well, a little late for them, maybe 3 weeks late, but nothing's lost. There's no, like you rightly said, there is always divine timing.
Yes. And anytime you start it is the start of your year. So thank you everyone for tuning in. And Hitesh, thanks a lot for giving me this platform and asking me such interesting questions about the book. It's been great to play in this dynamic, candid conversation.
Thank you so much, Sonia.